And you know, we like a little bit of, my like auto focus is really sensitive. I don't know what's going on with this. Ooh. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Colour Cave where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem. We know I like to go on some arty adventures here and I like to keep the content fairly varied. So today I'm going to bring you on my little journey of one of the things that I do periodically for the cave, and more specifically for the cave stash. When people buy things from the stash shop, I sometimes put in a little handwritten note and I usually include a sticker. People are becoming repeat customers, so I don't want to keep sending them the little Colour Cave sticker because that gets kind of boring. So every now and then I just create a little design. So for those of you who have bought from the stash shop, some of you may have had this little sticker of the ice cream sundae. Now this was an old artwork that I did many moons ago. Right back at the start of my channel I did some Copic like speed paints with a voiceover. And the video for this ice cream sundae is still on the channel, so if you'd like to see a bit of vintage cave, you can check out the link in the description and I'll pop it in the end card as well, and you can see how far I've come when it comes to creating YouTube videos. So I would like to kind of build up a little set of these, and see, these are just to go in with the orders, so I wouldn't put this out to a manufacturing company to make for me. I just want to make these here in the cave, and it's something I do every now and then. It's a little side project that I can enjoy. So I thought I'd take you on that journey today and you can just see how I do it, and you know, it's just a little bit of fun. So with this original ice cream sundae, I have done some other designs which I'm not going to show you because that would kind of spoil the surprise for people that buy things from the stash shop. And the original drawing for this was a 3 marker challenge, and these are the colours, these are the original colours, and these are Copic sketch markers which have got a brush end and a chisel end, which I never use. I also have added in a blue colour just because it's quite complementary and I'm thinking about sweet things like sweet treats. So I have a design with the blue, but we're going to use all 4 of these markers today to create a cupcake, which I am quite excited about, I am not going to lie. So in order to get from this stage to this stage, obviously there's quite a few steps involved in that, and the first thing we have to do is sketch out our design. So I think for the cupcake we'll go this way. Now this paper that I'm using here is the Artspace Sonic wallpaper. This came in an up crate and it's really good for markers. I wanted something that was definitely, absolutely, positively bleed proof, and this stuff really is, and you'll see why when I get to the marker stage. So this paper is really thick, but it is smooth, so it is designed for markers. So I'm just going to sketch out my design. And this is going to be like classic cupcakes. So, you know, we're going to have some frosting. We're going to have a cherry on the top. And we're going to have that nice sort of like paper cup on the bottom, that, you know, the ones that you peel off. Obviously I've got a design roughly in my head. I did have a little go on in my sketchbook before I got to this point. So a little Swiss swirly frosting. And when I'm doing this, I want to make the design as big as possible, and that's just so that when I transfer it to digital form and shrink it down, that the quality is good, you know, the actual the scan quality is good. Because if you make something teeny weeny and scan it in, even if you've got a really good scanner, if you try and blow it up, sometimes you don't get the same quality. So you're better to do your original piece big and then you shrink it down. And I'm the first person to admit, like, Photoshop and I are not friends, digital art and I are not friends, but I'm kind of getting there with it. So they've got my basic outline now, and then I can just start to add in some of the details. I seem to have a thing about cherries at the moment, don't I? I don't know where this has come from, but we'll pop that in there. And again, this is going to tie in quite nicely because on our ice cream sundae there is a cherry also. So we're kind of we're keeping a little bit of continuity here. So I really, like, I don't have to do a lot of work with this. I really don't, because I want to do most of this with the marker. Okay, I would say that's it looks pretty much like a cupcake. So I'm going to take my kneaded eraser and I am going to tidy up some of my sketch lines first of all, because the thing is as well, if once you go over these with your alcohol marker, you won't be able to erase these lines. So once you're happy with the outline, then we can go ahead just as the way we would do with any other sketches, and just lighten up those pencil lines as much as possible because they will show through. Again, it's not when you're doing something like this, if you're going to create a sticker with it, it's not so bad because you can tidy things up in Photoshop. I try and avoid that because of the aforementioned Photoshop issues that I have. Like I really don't get on well with Photoshop at all. I find it very illogical, and things that aren't in menus where they're supposed to be in menus, and there's too many keyboard shortcuts. Okay, so the trick to this and the way I have got this effect with the markers is by diluting down the markers. And for that I am using Surgical Spirit because it's relatively safe and I don't mind the smell of it. So this is a really simple technique and you'll have seen it done by loads of YouTubers now. And basically you get yourself a little well of your Surgical Spirit, and that's why I love this palette for this, because I put my Surgical Spirit in the dinkles and then you squeegee the marker out onto a clean part, and then you can use a paintbrush and you can dilute. And it gives you like a wash effect. It's really cool. I really like it. I always have a well for cleaning, so I fill that one right up to the very top, and then after that I just squidge in a little bit in a couple of the wells because we're going to be using several colours here. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is put a wash of basic colour down. I do this with practically every artwork ever because it's just the way I get things right in my mind. So I want to establish which colours are going where. And I want the base of my cupcake, so the actual casing, I want that to be blue. And for this, I'm using an old paintbrush because over time I don't think that Surgical Spirit is the best thing for synthetic bristles. I always make sure I wash the brush straight after I'm finished as well. But I'm just going to dip it in here. So just dip it into Surgical Spirit. If I move this up a little bit, you'll be able to see a wee bit better. And then just plonk it in the corner, and you can see there it's starting to dilute it and it's starting to spread out. And I'm going to grab some of that, and I am just going to start to put this down on my cupcakey case. Now it will spread, so you need to be quite conservative when you are coming towards where your edges are. Again, in this circumstance, not that much of an issue because we can tidy it up digitally. Once again, as I mentioned, I'd rather not do that. I think part of it as well is I like traditional art to get me away from computer screens because I spend a lot of time in front of them. So, you know, the more of that I can avoid, the better. But, you know, there is a point where you have to just accept that you're going to have to do it. So I'm just going back and forth between the Surgical Spirit here and the ink that I've laid out. And I'm keeping my brush strokes in the direction of the folds of the cupcake, because we are going to be able to see these brush strokes, and that's part of the nice thing about this. You know, that's that kind of sort of style that we've gone for with the other sticker as well. So I want to keep that in mind because I want them to be like, I don't know, maybe not a set, but I want them to be similar so that if you put them side by side you would realise that they belong to the same family. So for my cherry, I'm going to use the same colours as I used for the ice cream sundae, and this was the light prawn. That one's R22. If anybody's interested, the blue colour is B04, which is Tahitian blue. So I'm going to put my light prawn down in this one. Squeaky, squeaky, squeaky. Just make sure my brush is clean. So dip it in my clean Surgical Spirit in my end well, and then just give it a wee wipe on a damp cloth there. I'm not diluting this quite as much because it's going to be quite a bright colour. So I'm going to pop this down here. So you can see that's a lot more concentrated. And then I want to block in the base colour for the frosting, which is going to be chocolate. And I'm starting with E13, which is light suntan. Now I could probably use a bigger brush for this section, but I would rather keep a little bit of accuracy. So again, going in the direction that makes sense. So if you think about someone piping frosting on something, you want to go in the direction of the piping strokes. Now, if you keep going before this section's dry, it will bleed into each other, but because we're on a kind of like a base coat here and it's all the one colour, it's not really that much of an issue. So when we get to this point where I've kind of run out of ink and it's quite diluted, I just take the edge of my rag and dip it in the clean Surgical Spirit and just give that well a little bit of a rub out and make sure that it's dry. You know, make sure that there's no Surgical Spirit residue there. So you can give it a minute or two to air dry. It does evaporate pretty quickly, this stuff, obviously being alcohol based. And what that lets you do is basically start again. So you can repeat that process like this. And then you can just carry on from where you've left off. So there we go, we've got our first base layer of colour down. I just need to wait for this to dry, and while I'm waiting I'm taking my darkest shade, which is milk chocolate, that's E27. I'm just going to put in the stock here, so I'm just using neat marker for this. And our little cherry is already on top. Okay, so that's had a little bit of time to dry now, we're looking pretty good. And this is the part that I really enjoy, and it's working with the sort of inconsistencies in the colour. When I first started using Surgical Spirit with Copic markers, I was constantly fighting and trying to get it uniform, and even if I wanted to do that, I should have just used the marker and not diluted it. I've learned a lot, let's put it that way. So in order to get a little bit more shadow on our cherry here, I'm taking the light suntan and I'm just going to add a little bit in here. And then I can grab the light prawn and blend that out. And then grab my paintbrush. That round, get a little bit of curvature on there. I'm going to blend out between the two colours of brown, the two shades of brown should I say. So I want to smudge some of that in real quick and then get in there with my light suntan and start blending that out. I can come back over here with my paintbrush and start building up some colour here. Now if we think about the shadows, there is going to be quite a dark line down underneath our cherry here, but also where this is going to start to curve round and fold over. What's going on down here with my cup? This side, again, this is our dark side, so we want to add in a layer of colour here. Again, still thinking about the oh my goodness. Now this is exactly why Photoshop is a good thing. But I'm thinking about the texture and the fact that these are like almost corrugated, you know, they have that sort of concertina pattern, don't they? And as I'm coming along here, I'm picking up more and more Surgical Spirit so that what I'm laying down is getting lighter and lighter. You know, blendy, 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 blendy. I want to bring this side out a bit as if it's kind of like, ugh, it's squidged out a little bit over the side. Yeah, that's better. Okay, I feel like I'm kind of getting there now. Oh, it looks yummy. And we'll get some little details in here in the neat marker. And then for this other side, for the lighter side, I'm going to put these lines in with my diluted ink. And I'm trying not to think too deeply about the light hitting the concertina, because we are going for quite a sort of cartoony feel here, but I did want it to have a little bit about it, you know, just to give that impression, so that it's still fitting the style. It's just got a bit of depth to it, because otherwise I think it would be really, really flat. I find this so relaxing, I could sit here all day and do this. I do want to have a kind of darker area under here as well. Okay, I'm really happy with that. It's turned out quite rich. I do desaturate them a little bit for the stickers just to give them a bit more of a delicate feel, but for the sort of base drawing, I'm quite happy with that. The only thing I do want to do is kind of join up some of these sections a little bit more. Okay, now this is very specific to the design of this particular sticker. I used a certain thickness of fine liner as an outline, as in round the shape, and then a much finer liner to pick out some of the details, so I have to stick to that format. And I was using a broken line for some of the more delicate items, this maybe not so much. So I'm just going to make a start. And also what this lets me do is it lets me hide any feathering from the alcohol, and there is only a teeny weeny bit of it in this, but it just helps to keep things really sharp. So for example, down on this lighter side, you know, using a broken line, you're still getting that outline, but it just makes it look a little bit more delicate. Turn this round, this makes this easier for me. If anyone's interested as well, this is a Pigma Micron 08, so that is, I can't actually remember without looking, that is a 0.5mm line width that I'm using. And most of you will probably know by now that my outlining skills are not great. They have improved dramatically in the last few years, but this is the worst part of any kind of illustration for me, because I'm prone to hand spasms and my hand doesn't always do what I want it to do. So I do not rate my lining skills at all. I think we're doing okay today. I have skipped out a little bit. Again, I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not. You see a tiny little bit of white there? I can fix that in Photoshop. That's not a problem. So I can do away with the 08 now. So I'm jumping down to a 005, which is the second teeny weeniest fine liner you can get from Pigma Micron. And this is to put in the more delicate details. The likes of these sections here around where our frosting is, we can still show that separation. It is much more subtle. I feel like this line here, I think I'm going to go for it with the fatter liner here, just to separate off the cake from the cup, because this is like blobbed over the side, because you know cupcakes don't always come out perfect. Neither do muffins. I know muffins are kind of supposed to, that's where the expression muffin top comes from. I'm very familiar with that just now actually. Oh wow. Let's not talk about my muffin top. When we're coming down here to our cupcake, I'm going to employ this broken line situation again, and I'm going to use it very sparingly on this side. So I'm giving that suggestion that the creases are in the cup. And I'm just following my my background lines that I've already put in. And there we have our cupcake. We are ready. I do want to just try and fill this in manually rather than digitally. I'm just feeling the urge. It's such a tiny little sliver. There we go. Oh, there's a bit there too. Okay, so the next step is to get this scanned in. I always think my scanner sounds so sick when it's doing this, as in unwell. Okay, so I've literally dumped this into Photoshop, and you can see here it's just a transparent layer which I've locked, so that's the background, and then the scanned image on top. So I've just twisted it round, and you can see, like, you can still see all the scan lines and everything here as well. And this is a really straightforward process. There are more sophisticated ways to do that, but I'm literally taking a basic eraser, and I like Jazz's set of brushes, which can be downloaded, and literally I zoom in and I start working my way around the image and taking away the white of the paper. Now I only do it about that far out maybe. And just what this lets me do is it lets me clean up the lines, because you can get super zoomed in here. And I just basically work my way around the entire piece and take out all this white background. Now when we're printing onto our sticker paper, it is white. So if we take away this transparency, it is going to give us a white background, which in turn gives us the white outline around the sticker. If you leave the natural white of the paper, it can come out quite grubby, and it looks as if you've got like a dirty line around the outside of your sticker, which is what we don't want. So this is why I take the time to do this. That's basically it. I've got a bit of mess to tidy up around here as well, so this is really helpful for me here. I can just zip that straight off. Now we don't have to be too tidy about this, just because we've got to remember that we're going to be scaling this down. So you don't have to go down to the very last pixel, because the human eye is not going to be able to pick it out. Is not going to be able to pick it up. Just as well, there's an undo button here. Okay, so this is a fresh document now, and all I've done is use the clipping mask, and I've cut down the size of the actual image. And basically what I want to do now is just copy and paste this over onto the new sheet, which is A4, because that's the size that my printer takes. So then what I usually do is I can move it about. So basically all I'm going to do is copy and paste. And I'm going to do that several times. And then all we need to do is position them. We've got another one. Oh, miscounted there, dagnammit. Like so. And that's us, we pretty much have our sticker sheet. I always do a test print on plain paper first, just to see how the colours are going to come out and make sure I'm happy with everything. And this looks pretty good. So you can see here, compared to the other stickers, these are pretty big. So I might actually scale them down a teeny weeny bit, just so that they like kind of tie in better. But I can go back to Photoshop and tweak that, and I haven't wasted any of my precious sticker paper. So we are all printed. This is the paper that I use in my printer. It is a printer that's designed for photographs. This paper seems to work really well, and it is waterproof, and it's made specifically for inkjet printers, which is what I have. Apparently there are better sticker papers out in the market. I bought this at the height of the pandemic because I couldn't get to my normal printers, and there was very little to choose from at the time, but it's actually been okay, and it's reasonably priced as well. So it's Evergreen Goods glossy white vinyl if you're interested for yourself. If I can find a link to it, if it's still on Amazon, I will stick that down in the description for you if it's something you want to try yourself. So here is our sheet of stickers, and they've turned out pretty cute. I'm quite happy with them. And you can see I've shrunk down the size of it a little bit so that it was closer to the size of our ice cream sundae. Now, I'm only doing maybe 24 of these at a time, so, you know, just a couple of sheets. You can buy specific machines, like, I can't remember the name of them, that are designed to cut out your stickers for you. The machines themselves they range from really basic and not very good up to incredibly expensive. It's not an expenditure I want to make because this is something I only do every now and then. So at this point, I literally just get out a pair of scissors. I either sit and watch some YouTube or put some music on, and I just sit and cut my way around, and this is the kind of result I'm getting. So they're not going to be uniform. Not everyone is going to have exactly the same outline, but for the purposes of what I want these for, it's perfect. I need to keep the dexterity in my hand as well. Although I can't sit for very long and do something like this, Mr. Jem helps me. It's nice for me to be able to sit and do as much as I can with this whilst being occupied by something else, so I'm not concentrating on my dodgy hand. So that is literally it. I do leave these to dry for a really good length of time just in case they're going to smudge, but this paper seems to be pretty good. I have heard of some people having to leave their sticker sheets for 24 hours to dry properly, which is a bit crazy, but hey, you know, that's one of these things. So yeah, make things easy for myself, get out my guillotine, or as Mr. Jem calls it, the and I just cut these into their like little rectangles. And again, that's something just for me personally, having issues with my hand. It makes it a lot easier for me to manoeuvre when I'm actually cutting round, you know, cutting them to the shape that I want them. And I have to say, this has been an absolute lifesaver. I'm so glad I bought one of these. I plumped for a slightly more expensive one. You do get budget ones, and I spent a little bit more money. So this is a Dala 507. For any of the colourists out there, you will know the name Dala because they make really good pencil sharpeners. Turns out they also make really good cutting blades as well. Who'd have thunk it? I have seen some people cut them out with an X-Acto knife on a craft mat as well, and I suppose if you had quite intricate designs then that would be really handy, but again, just for me, this is absolutely fine. I don't want this to be a complicated process if it doesn't need to be. And then I just sit here with my cheap IKEA scissors and off I go. And there we go, our little cupcake stickers are all ready. So all I need to do now is start putting them in with some people's orders. Congratulations to the first person who's going to get one of these stickers. They're fresh off the press. I know this was a little bit of a different video today, but I hope you've enjoyed just watching this sort of process and figuring out some of the stuff I do that's kind of behind the scenes when I'm not making actual pieces of art. So I want to thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you back here in the cave really soon for another video. Have a great day everyone, and bye for now.